So I got my D1 Mini breakout boards and they look pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. I've beeped out everything and it seems okay, but there's one problem. So this is what the board will eventually pretty much come or become. It's a D1 Mini, and then all these screw terminals are those pins broken out. But there's one problem. The pads for the DC jack are correct. They're in the correct spot, but the hole is way too small. So it matches what I had in Easy EDA. I just missed it. But that part just had the wrong holes. So this is the normal DC jack. They're pretty big, so it should be kind of like a slotted hole. Yeah, it's definitely not going to fit. And I even have these breadboard friendly ones, and they aren't going to fit either. They just don't push in. The hole just isn't big enough. So what I think it's Burger Duino suggested on Twitter is that I could just drill the holes out and make them bigger and then use the breadboard friendly ones. So when you do a hole through or a pad through like this, there's these pads are not, they are connected to each other, but just through like something in the middle of the hole. I'm not sure if it's solder or copper or what it is, but it's what's in the hole that makes them connected to each other. So if I drill out this hole and make it bigger, it's going to break that connection. So what he was suggesting was that I could solder the top and the bottom. So I put it through and I'd solder the bottom pin here, but then also I'd have access to solder the top of the pin as well. So that would make a connection between the top and the bottom pad. This one isn't connected to anything, so that's not a problem at all. But the middle one, I wasn't, that's the ground connection. I'm not going to be able to solder the top of it, but on closer inspection, the top is connected to the ground plane, but it doesn't actually go anywhere. Everything is connected to ground via the bottom. The bottom ground plane is much bigger. So yeah, it might actually work out. So I'm going to Dremel these holes out using the smallest drill bit I have, and I'm going to solder it up and see does it work. I thought I'd have a smaller drill bit than this, but it should be okay. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, that actually worked out pretty nice. It's a fairly clean hole. Maybe I lifted the pad on the bottom though. No, it went through pretty clean on the bottom too. There's a bit of metal left over, but I can clean that up with a file, but the pad is still there. So we may as well try again. Seems okay as well. Do the last one. Okay, don't breathe this stuff in. But it's gone through now. I can fit my DC jack inside. So I guess the next thing to try do would be to solder it up and just make sure that it's making continuity, or it should be making continuity. Yeah, I might just use my snips to kind of tidy up these jaggedy parts here. Yeah, I think that should be okay. Okay, I'm gonna start on the top and see how we go. So I'm gonna touch the pad and the metal here. Right, that looks like a pretty good connection. This one, although it's not doing anything connectivity wise, be good to use for stability wise, so we'll solder him up too. It's connected, but it's just not making a bridge between the two holes. I've definitely melted a bit of the plastic too. There we go. Okay, so that's the top of the board done. Okay, so the bottom of the board. The bottom of the board should actually be easier, I would say. There's no plastic in the way, number one. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so this looks pretty good. Fits fairly nicely. So now I think it's just time to beep it out. Okay, so the easiest way will probably be using one of these things and my multimeter. Okay, so let's start with the negative. So here is one ground. Okay. So ground looks fine. Positive. Looks fine. I think we've gotten away with it.